Alright, hello guys. So, yeah, we're gonna be doing a second video on this channel at least, so we'll see how this goes, right? The topic is gonna be just how online communities get radicalized. But I've been realizing that they're being radicalized, which is an interesting topic, honestly, to me at least. Now, obviously, this does not look like what you think it would look like. Let's be completely real here, right? It's not sudden, it's not dramatic, it's not even someone waking up one day and deciding, oh, I'm gonna do this or that and be extremely crazy on either my beliefs or any ideology. It's just not how it starts, right? It's slow, it's subtle, and most importantly, it's invisible to the people actually experiencing it. Now, me and you, on the outside, we might see it from a mile away, but the whole thing is that's the reason why you need people from outside to give different perspectives, and majority of times the communities will lock themselves together. But we're gonna break down basically how they drift into extremists without even really realizing it, right? There's gonna be sections which are just gonna be more or less stated here, and this is basically why this pattern can be repeated across platforms, really political groups, really anywhere in the internet or even real life, right? So obviously we all know about how there is a hidden vulnerability with humans, right? Which is people don't join the community because they're looking for ideology. They're joining because they want to belong somewhere. They want to be validated. They want to have entertainment. They want to have an identity. It's one of those three normally, or they just want a place to be heard. And according to the National Institute of Justice, right, online radicalization, it's not caused by ideology alone. It's more shaped by personal vulnerabilities and social isolation. COVID, it was a great example of this. People were socially isolated. People were vulnerable. They joined groups, and some became more extreme than others, and they eventually did form communities that might have helped some of them, but there's that desire for community that allowed them to be pushed into being obviously extreme because they didn't join for extremists. They joined to be, well, a connected community. And that's why this process is so effective. And then you have the algorithm drift, which is a term that was coined by researchers, also known as the algorithm funnel, which is just a gradual shift from mild content to more intense. And it's just because the algorithm will push you whatever you keep on watching or whatever triggers your emotion and gets your engagement. That's just how it is. Emotional content tends to be the more extreme and dramatic ones or polarizing. It's just how it is. It's not malicious. It's not even intentional. It's just math. I mean, if you see something that you're more interested in because it pushes out the worst in you or the best in you, you're gonna click on it 9 times out of 10 compared to something that is just middle of the road. That's just how it is. That's just the facts, right? The social reinforcement loop, though, which is also inside these communities, is just because people tend to want to be more seen by each other, and this leads to trying to get more comments and sparking more debates, and just makes everything spread quicker within extreme content, because if you feel like the content that you're doing is more confident because you're staying more extreme towards more of the what are the fringe beliefs at this time, but will eventually not be. And Peel's research on youth radicalization shows that communities normalize these harmful ideologies through just repetition and humor. I mean, even memes, for example, and inside jokes and just shared languages. And the issue is like an inside joke is cool every once in a while, but like a joke that repeats itself enough times really stops being a joke and just becomes a part of the culture. I mean, and culture will shape the beliefs. I mean, that's just how it is. It's pretty simple. Something that starts as a joke slowly devolves into being a cultural thing, and then eventually evolves into being beliefs that are set in stone, and this causes a shift in identity. And radicalization just becomes dangerous when it stops being about ideas and starts being about the identity. Because if it's just you versus them, or us versus them, now it's not just, oh, we have different opinions. Now it is, they're the enemy, they are the hostile. And the ISD, which is the Institute for Strategic Dialogue, they agree with this. Their 2025 analysis shows that identity-based polarization is one of the strongest predictors of real-world harm. And once identity is involved, leaving the group feels like a betrayal. You can't just be like, oh, I don't really like this anymore. Now it feels like it's a part of you, and when it's a part of you, you don't want to leave it. That's just how it is. Because now you're not just leaving a group, you're leaving a tribe. You're not just leaving some random community you joined on the internet. And this causes an echo chamber because, well, moderate voices will decide to leave. That's how it is, because they will get fed up or they will decide it's not for them. And any dissenting voices will get pushed out by a herd mentality because, well, if you're not with them, you're against them, pretty much is how they think. And it causes the more extreme voices to be, well, dominant. And this will just create an echo chamber where the only acceptable opinions are the most intense ones. And because everyone around you agrees, the ideas start to feel, well, normal. Even if they're objectively extreme to me and you. I mean, you gotta think about how they feel, how the person who deals with this every day feels, because they're not gonna see it. And it's pretty simple, just, if everyone agrees, everyone feels the idea is normal, and that's why a lot of leadership people don't want everyone to be yes men, but a lot of times that's why they are yes men. And this is normally how communities get radicalized without even noticing, or how people get radicalized without noticing, is they just turn into yes men because the environment shifts. It's not the individuals themselves, it's just they will change their way of thinking to meet whatever the environment is, and that goes back to just humans are adaptable creatures at the end of the day. And obviously this will lead to outrage with some groups, including some groups having outrage against them or them having outrage against groups that they disagree with. And it's addictive to always be like in that fight or flight mode where you're mad, you're angry, and you have grievances, and now you all share an enemy, at least in your mind, they're your enemy. Which does create, a nice little sense of purpose for you because now you have someone to go after and disagree with. And once a group really defines itself by what they hate, it just increases the radicalization because now you have people who also hate that group all joining into one group now, in which this becomes really a recruitment tool, and you just start multiplying your echo chamber until it starts echoing off the walls. And obviously the online and offline feedback loops, they're a thing here. And, even the 2024 JSTOR analysis shows that online radicalization is never purely online. Because people tend to bring their offline issues online and vice versa. I mean, that's just how it is. This creates hybrid forms where, online content will shape the offline beliefs, and the offline experiences will reinforce online narratives. And then the two worlds merge, and the person does not notice the difference or the shift, and really just creates this feedback loop where you continuously just go down this rabbit hole and you start spiraling and spiraling until you eventually either hit the ground and explode from just anger or whatever and self-destruct basically, which you see all the time, or you end up going really extreme and starting a movement that causes more harm than good on a broader scale. And then you'll eventually hit the point of no return, right? Which is just normally when the community realizes it's changed, but it's too late. They can't fix it. They can't change it. The people who were more moderate, they're gone already. They're not coming back. The culture has already shifted, and the identity has already been formed, really. Like, people recognize this group for one thing now, or a bunch of things, depending on what it is, but they recognize them as basically an extremer group of them. And new members that enter the space, they feel that this is normal because they're looking for that, or they just feel it's normal because everyone else feels it's normal, even if it's the most extreme things that we've ever heard. That's how, online communities get radicalized without ever noticing or realizing it. Is just slowly the people who are more moderate or disagreeing will get kicked out because, well, they will disagree with the wrong person who is higher up in the group, and everyone will turn against them. And I mean, if you've ever watched a community slowly change over time, you know how slow this process can be. It's not about being intelligent. I mean, there's many intelligent people out there. Like, they're just smart. I mean, it's not about weakness or ideology. It's just environment, because humans, once again, are shaped by their environment more than we realize. And obviously, this was a pretty shorter video. I mean, this was maybe longer than my other one, but this is basically just going over the surface of pretty simply how communities really slowly drift into something unrecognizable. And even if they were a good community at first, they slowly did drift into this way. I mean, And you see this all the time, and history has shown us groups that might not have been ideologically like this. For example, Germany was not originally planning to go to war in World War II, but Hitler and his Nazi party did, well, sway people because they created an enemy and they created an us versus them mentality, in which, Germany is still recovering from that till this day. I mean, obviously they have made it very much part of their environment to talk about this, and, that's a very big, as far as view and, like, example, because that one really did affect the entire world. But there's smaller ones, there's bigger ones now. Granted, none of them have started a war completely, at least not a war that has caused, well, world war levels yet, but, that's still to be seen in 2026. I mean, we started off rocky. And now, any research materials, any, like, real sites that I used or referenced, such as the National Institute for Justice, or the Institute for Strategic Dialogue, any groups like that will be obviously put at the bottom, including like the Global Network on Extremism and Technologies, as far as their, I believe it was 16-page document on this. Now this obviously has a lot more information than I went over completely because I was trying to quickly brief, but it does have a lot of good information in it.